Hello. So, here we have week 3 of the UBL. This week we were against the OKC Onixes. Now I say we were because this one is going to be a post-commentated match. I actually didn't have time to set up OBS or anything like that, get the recording software ready and get everything sorted. They had a chance to play, and we were like, we're just gonna take this chance to play right now. We featured the Starlit and the OKC Onixes on a channel previously in the match highlights, and their team is honestly so scary. I was super worried about going into this week that I genuinely didn't know what to do. Their team consists of Bishop, Mega Blaziken, Butterfree, Chloritza, Gardevoir, Goldgeist, Groudon, Hitmontop, Klefki, Ninjask, Tapu Fini, and Zapdos. For those who do not know, they have a pretty decently used core back in VGC 2018 that's known as BBZ, or BBE, which is Blaziken, Bishop, plus Electric. Usually Zapdos, which is why it's known as BBZ. But it also could be just BBE for Blaziken, Bishop, plus Electric. The combination of having Blaziken plus Bishop on the field is an incredibly scary combination. Not to mention Groudon as well. Just more stuff that can't be intimidated down and slowed down nearly as easily due to Bishop's presence. Not only that, they have great supporting options with things like Hitmontop, Klefki, and Gardevoir, and even Butterfree. Even Zapdos can be quite supporty. Same with Tapu Fini, but can also be offensive threats. Same with Gardevoir to an extent. Even Hitmontop can do some real damage. Goldgeist is a potential Trick Room user, but it doesn't get imprisoned, so I wasn't too worried about that. The only thing I was worried about too much with imprisoning Trick Room, because their team is fast. Their team is super speedy, and that was the idea, to go with Trick Room. Because, like, you got to find a way to slow down Mega Blaziken. If it gets out of hand too quickly, that's it, it's over. Same with Groudon to an extent, because we've seen them run Rock Polish Groudon, and I would have expected the same thing here. So yeah, this was a super scary one to go into, and I genuinely didn't know what to do. I had a couple ideas. And this one I had to do something I didn't think I would have to do. And I had to call upon all the help I could get. I called upon a few of my friends for this one. And even we struggled with this one. Like, there was like 3 or 4 of us, like, trying to put our heads against the wall and try and figure out what to do about this matchup. And either I was overthinking it, or maybe I just, like, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of my play was, I was trying to play too defensive. And I think a lot of it came down to, don't be so defensive. I can play aggressive too. So, that will come down to a little bit of team builder. But yeah, let's get into the team builder. So, first of all, Arcanine was coming. Arcanine was coming every day of the week. Despite them having Bishop, I knew if I played Arcanine correctly, it could really slow down the offense of the opposing team. Despite them having run Swords Dance Mega Blaziken in the past, I was still ready to say, listen, I need this. Despite Tapu Fini being there as well, I have Coco of my own to stop the terrain from blocking Will-O-Wisps if need be. Other than that, the EVs, I will show this now. I barely made any notes. I was so nervous that I didn't even make much notes. The only notes I made were on the Coco. And I just wanted, like, the speed I wanted to hit. Which is why the Arcanine is as fast as it is. It outspeeds a +1 Mega Blaziken while this is in Tailwind. So, that was the idea. Other than that, honestly, I threw the EVs around. Adamant 4 attack, just to give it a bit of offensive presence, would be useful just to make sure it picked off things like Butterfree, did chunks to Goldgeist, make sure it takes out Ninjask if it's not sashed, makes it chunk Bishop. It might have one-shot Bishop, I'm not quite sure, but I was expecting Bishop to come and be sashed. If I was expecting any Like, you can see here, I expected Groudon, Mega Blaziken, Bishop, and then literally anything else other than Ninjask Glorissa. Anything else could have come this week. Most likely, I was expecting Zapdos Finny, but then, like, one of the others as well. It could have been Hitmontop for Intimidate support with Fake Out. Could have been Gardy for Imprison Trick Room as well as support. Could have been Butterfree for Rage Powder. Could have been Gourgeist for Trick Room, like, trying to reverse Trick Room. Or it could have been Klefki for absolutely any prankster shenanigans it wants to go for. So I did not know. That's why this was so hard to prep for. So the Arcanine just had to come and be a defensive support piece. Kang was interesting. It's an offensive Kang that made sure it was able to one-shot a, I believe it was max HP, max HP 4 defense Bishop with Drain Punch. Or at least put it down to its Sash if it had it. It would one-shot it or put it down to its Sash. We've got the Fake Out support, because Fake Outs to slow down their offense was so important here. As well as to slow down any leads with things like Butterfree. Originally I was going to have Rock Slide over Return, but if I felt like if I give it Rock Slide over Return, I'm going to have nothing to hit Groudon really with. And I can see this being against Groudon a decent amount. I believe the speed was to outspeed Finny. No, it wouldn't have been to outspeed Finny. What would have been to outspeed? Again, I made this team a couple days ago, and I'm just still like, it was probably Bishop. Actually, yeah, it would have been to outspeed Bishop. Max speed Bishop. So yeah. EQ was also really nice because of like things like Mega Blaziken. And we went inner focus because we didn't need Scrappy, and if I wanted to like just not get faked out by Hitmontop, then I could just leave it normal. Coco. We were AV Coco, but we were a pretty offensive one this time. This outsped, I think the fastest thing on the team. I think it outsped Mega Blaziken. Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Nature's Madness, Skydrop. As you can see from the one calc I did, this was pretty much going to two-shot any Tapu Fini. That was the goal, to make sure I could two-shot Tapu Fini and win in a 1v1. This was one of my best answers to Tapu Fini. It was also one of my best defensive checks to Zapdos. That's why it's got as much HP and like as bulky as it needed to be. It had to have the Assault Vest this week, so it could fight. Zapdos. Nature's Madness just to chunk things like Groudon, and Skydrop to remove things from the field if it needs to. Again, a lot of this game plan was trying to slow down their offense as much as possible, while, as my friends kind of pointed out, still putting on offensive pressure of my own. That was one thing I really forgot to consider initially, because I was so focused on playing defense. You're like, sure, you play defense, but you need to play aggressive as well. You can't just sit back and do nothing. You have to push forward when you're playing defense as well. And that was something I realized. And one of the things that made me realize this was Lugia. So Keyberry Lugia. Keyberry is actually a fairly standard item for Lugia. But it's a very offensive Lugia. This one-shots Mega Blaziken with Air Blast. Keyberry is also really nice because a lot of their offense that, like, Lugia really needs to take hits for is on the physical side. Things like Groudon, things like Mega Blaziken, things like Bishop. It needs to take those hits. The only thing it doesn't like is Zapdos, but that's why Coco's there. So, we've got the Reflect as well, we've got the Tailwind, if I need to play it fast mode, but it's not got much speed in it. That's one of the downsides of this one, but it needed a defense. It really needed to be bulky to take the hits. And Roost was there because I didn't really know what else to put on, because I was like, I'm never clicking a Psychic move with this thing. So, I just kind of gave it Roost, because if it could stick around and I get a nice play with a Roost, it could really work. Jelly. Jelly was here for Trick Room. Again, I would have been able to tell you what this spread did a while ago. My guess is it would two-shot Mega Blaziken with Scald. Again, we've got more Will-O-Wisp and Trick Room. This was my way to set up Trick Room. This thing with a Tailwind would also outspeed base 100 with no boosts. So if Mega Blaziken came in and it didn't protect, I could outspeed and KO it. Also outspeeds max speed Zapdos. Just to pick it off with a Skull if I need to. And again, the Trick Room is really nice. And last but not least, Gracium Z Serena. I believe this was to one-shot a max, a fast offensive, so like a 4 HP 4 defense, Groudon with Power Whip. This also lived a Sun Boosted Fire Punch from Adamant Max Attack Groudon. HJK for the Bishop, U-turn, and Protect. This was a call from my friends to say, look at the calcs for like a Gracium C Serena. And yeah, so this one was a team effort. I couldn't do this one alone. So yeah, this was a team that I knew this matchup was going to be hard going into it, and I went into this going, I don't expect to win this. This was one of the most tough matches I've had to prepare for, to a point where I practically gave up preparing for it. It was my friends who pulled me out and said, listen, we can have a look at this and see what we can do. And even then, so things like the Arcanine spread were kind of thrown together, but they still at least made sense. So it was a really tough one to prep for. So let's get into the actual replays. So we got game 1 here. As you can see, their team, they brought pretty much everything we expected. The top 5, the Blaziken, Bishop, Groudon, the Zapdos, and the Finikin, kind of like I expected. And then the Butterfree came as the off pick. So, game 1, we see Butterfree Groudon lead. And I lead Kang and Coco. Because, hi, have you seen me lead anything else this season? Kang Coco's kind of been my go-to league. And that's literally because it's so versatile. I don't think you can realistically blame me. It also, like, quite nicely stops Sleep Powders from Butterfree, so, yeah. But obviously the Groudon here is a massive threat, so. Drought obviously comes out, we're going to Mega Up immediately and fake out the Groudon, stop at any offensive pressure it wants to go for. The Rage Powder comes out, not going to matter with me going for the fake out, and we get a Volt Switch right out into Arcanine, try and slow this Groudon down immediately. The downside here is I believe my Kang is too slow. So I can't... my Pokemon, essentially, I can't do one or the other. I can't, like, either... I can either chunk Groudon or I can Will-O-It, but I can't do both because the Butterfree is still alive. We also see the Butterfree is Sash. That's huge to know. Something I didn't consider in the moment because I was still kind of distressed from this match. I was very stressed during this entire match. The Bishop does not have the Sash, and that is huge for me. So, I protect the Arcanine, Rage Powder comes out, and the Groudon just Swords Dances in my face. So, at this point, I'm kind of kicking myself as the Blaziken comes in. I think, crud, I cannot do anything about that. I later learn, after the match, this is actually a Lum Groudon, so the burn wouldn't have mattered. So the Protect kind of just means that a Lum would have been burnt, and that just would have been information that I'd learned about the Groudon's item. But Blaziken comes in, and this is a position I don't want to be in. Two extremely powerful physical attackers just putting on too much offensive pressure when I don't have speed control. So I switch straight to Lugia because it's the best thing I have to take both hits. Blaziken protects, which I kind of expect, and I'm hoping Arcanine can take it, but it cannot take a +1 Precipice Blades, and the Blaziken gets that +1 speed. And they get a double protect as I go for the fake out, trying to get some chip, and this Groudon Swords Dances again as I Tailwind on up. In hindsight, the Tailwind probably wasn't the best play because the Blaziken now just outspeeds both of my guys anyway. Because I'm not max speed. So, low kick goes into the Kang, and I miss an Aero Blast, and Lugia takes some massive damage from a Stone Edge. Can I just also say that's a +3 Groudon using Stone Edge, and Lugia takes it like it's nothing. So yeah, a better play would have probably been to go for Reflect. Maybe Kang could have lived. Instead of going for the Tailwind, because the Tailwind realistically doesn't matter here. But that Aeroblast is a huge miss, because that is a KO on the Blaziken. It means now that, like, Coco's got to come into a Groudon, and a Blaziken, instead of a Groudon and, I believe, a Finny in the back, in which I can take out the Finny, or at least threaten to, while Lugia tries to do something about this Groudon. Groudon can't take out both Lugia and Coco at the same time, whereas now you got a Blaziken who can take out the Lugia and a Groudon who can take out the Coco. Or just do it in reverse. So I try and Volt Switch, try and get some damage. We get a crit, which doesn't matter. We see the reveal on Thunder Punch, so we know the Groudon's full moveset at this point. We see it's Zapdos in the back. So Coco could have 1v1 the Dose, but it couldn't beat the Groudon. So the Groudon was essentially a little too bulky for me to deal with in this game. And I couldn't stop it quick enough. So that was game 1, and at this point I was just like, yeah, there's no way I can do this. But I thought about it, and I wasn't going to give up. So, game 2. This time I lead Kangalugia into Butterfree and Bishop. And I was like, I knew you would try and lead Bishop at some point, because I have Arcanine. There's no way you don't try and lead it at some point, and I call him out on it. And the Kang is here to beat the Bishop. Lugia was also here in case of the Groudon lead. I can at least tank the Groudon hits, and slow it down enough to the point where Lugia can like my other Pokemon can deal with it. So Kang goes up, we fake out the Butterfree this time. As the Break Rate comes out, doesn't do that much, and we Aeroblast, just take out the Butterfree turn 1. I realized that was the only play I could make, because I thought about it and went, I don't have Electric Terrain up this time. Last time I did, this time I don't. I can't afford something to go to sleep, so I just took my opportunity to take it out turn 1. No redirection, and more importantly, no sleep powders. Realistically, it was probably a little bit of a waste of, like, both pretty powerful attacks that were going to take it out, but the Sash needed to be broken. So now comes in Zapdos, which is a huge offensive threat to Lugia. We go for the Drain Punch into the Bishop, we are faster, and we take it out in one shot because it does not have a Sash. They set up Tailwind while I set up Reflect, and now it's 2-4. I get an Intimidate onto the Blaziken, which is huge because they protect, and we see a Defog come out to remove my Reflect as I try and take out the Blaziken as well. Defog was a super cool tech for this week, expecting me to run screens, which makes a lot of sense. Going for a Tailwind would have helped me outspeed the Dose. Well, it would have helped me, like, match their Tailwind, but at the same time, like, it's not the most relevant because they have their Tailwind and Blaziken just keeps getting faster and faster, but it's weakened, which is important. Again, there's a lot about slowing down their offense, and now you can see Blaziken does nothing. But we see the Z move come out from the Zapdos, see the Gigavolt Havoc, and that's not even taking out Lugia. I'm just max HP, and we knock out Blaziken in one shot, get the damage on the Zapdos there. Zapdos is going to reveal Discharge, not get a power on Arcanine, and Zapdos will go down. At this point, I was very much... Well, I was so much happier, because I was like, Lugia did so well that game. It took out the Blaziken, the Bishop went down early, Arcanine was able to slow down the Blaziken long enough for me to get the KO on it. We got what we needed to in there. The plan worked. We were able to play defense and offense at the same time, which was huge. And keep in mind, I've barely had speed control this entire set. They've been able to get Tailwind off with Zapdos multiple times. So, it's time for game 3. I'm sticking with my game plan of Kangalugia. It worked so well, and I need that presence. So this time they lead Finny Groudon into Kangalugia. In which my first thought is just... I mean, obviously I'm super scared of the Groudon. So I'm just like, I have to go. I have to try and, like, stop this Groudon for at least a turn. And Taunt comes out onto the Lugia, which was huge. I didn't expect the Finny to be so fast as well. The fast Finny kind of caught me off guard. So fast taunt Finny really shuts down my Lugia and means it can't do anything. So we bring in the Arcanine, try and slow down his Groudon a little bit, and the Swagger comes out. And because of Misty Terrain, it's not gonna confuse the Groudon. But the Precipice Blaze miss there. We'll see if that ends up mattering. But obviously taking out the Arcanine is huge. So, but we get a nice chunk onto the Groudon. And that's what's really important here. The fact that the Groudon gets chunked this hard means it's so much easier to take down with some other Pokemon. Coco comes in because I'm not letting that Swagger shenanigans happen again. I'm going to Volt Switch into the Finny. A T-Bot would have taken it out, but I wanted to make sure that things weren't dying to Precipice Blades, and that is where the miss matters. That is where the miss matters, because I would have gone down right there and then to Precipice Blades. Again, hacks happened all over the set. There was a Double Protect game 1 and a Aeroblast miss. So it's not like hacks was only on my side here. But that Precipice Blaze miss was huge. Because it meant that my Kang got the KO on the Groudon. Groudon goes down. And now it's Blaziken, Finny. Low-Kick comes out to finish off my Kang. That goes for the Taunt, and I expected a Protect there, and I go for the Reflect, trying to capitalize on a Protect, which was a great play on their part. I could have gone for the KO on the Blaziken right there, but I read a Protect so hard. So now it's bad, and now I think I'm in such a bad position because it's like Blaziken is here, and it's ready to kick things in the face. But the things that it wants to kick in the face aren't really here. Coco, it could it'll do a decent chunk to, but Lugia not so much. And they go for the Lugia. Even with the Electric Terrain boost, I still take that well. Finny's going to go down to the T-Bolt. Aeroblast into the Blaziken. And that just leaves Zapdos in the back. So we T-Bolt the Zapdos. We Aeroblast. Put it down to 50%. They're going to Z-move into the Lugia. Take it down. And Coco, as I said, was designed to beat the Zapdos in a one-on-one, and it does so right here. And that will do it for this set. That we both said we were reading Protect. I read the Protect on the Blaziken. They were reading a Protect on my Coco. Is why they went for the Thunder Punch into Lugia. They read a Protect there, and that's why they didn't go for it. So we both read Protects that we both didn't call on. I was AV, I couldn't Protect, but I knew they had Protect. I don't think they were able to figure out that I was AV. And as a result of that, I was able to take this 2-1. Again, I was super nervous this whole set. I was shaking non-stop, but I just didn't have time to set up a recording. But yeah, this team, like I say, I couldn't have done this one alone. There's the Jellicent I ended up never bringing, even though I really wanted Jellicent. Just because, like, I saw Zapdos was coming so much, I was like, there's never going to be a time for me to... The whole idea was the backdoor Trick Room, but there was never a time, because they were already having... There was always having Zapdos in the back, it never felt like I had a time to get the backdoor Trick Room going, and leading it just probably wouldn't have worked. So, and Serena would have been good, but I never felt like I got speed control. And that was one of the things Serena needed to be good, because otherwise I was never beating Blaziken. And it could beat Bisharp, but it couldn't, like, beat all of their offense at once. It couldn't take 2 hits. It could take 1, but it couldn't take 2. And since I could never realistically get speed control, I couldn't reliably get a Tailwind without them getting their own, and I couldn't set up Trick Room. Like, Serena just ended up never coming, though it was a really cool set. So, I just stuck with my 4, I stuck to my guns, and I stuck with this core 4 that ended up just, like, managing to win me this game. It was a both defensive and offensive core. Arcanine did absolutely nothing, realistically. But in a sense, it did as well. It slowed down the Groudon just enough where Kang could take the hit and take it down in return. So, it was a super, super close get. GG's to Starlit. They're a great player. And it was a super tough week to prep for that I was genuinely just... I was stressed out so much for. So, I was really happy to honestly get it over with. I think they'll do very well for the rest of the season, no doubt. They're like 1-2 right now, but I doubt that's going to stay like that. I can easily see them making a playoff run, so I can see pretty much any coach in this league making a playoff run. I mean, we're in week 3 now, and we're 2-1. I believe no coach at this point is actually 3-0. As of week 3, no coach has gone without losing a set. I believe. I can double check that, actually. Where is it? Standings. Yep, there's no coach at this point who is, there's no coach that is 3-0. There are 4 coaches at this point who are 2-1. There could be potentially 5th because there's only 1 set that actually needs to be played left. But yeah. It's very, very interesting that pretty much anyone can make a playoff run. So this season's really interesting, and every coach is super scary to go against. So, especially after last week as well, where I didn't feel like things went in my favor, and then going against such a tough team, like this was like one of the few matches I really didn't want to have to try and build for, and I somehow pull it off. Maybe a little luck swung in my favor, but that's Pokemon. Luck swung in their favor game 1, I would say. Luck swung in my favor game 3. And the point really was, if you notice in game 2 and 3, Groudon and Blaziken didn't hit the field at the same time. And that was what was important. If they were on the field at the same time and I was prepped for them, it was fine. But if I wasn't prepped for them at the same time, then it was over. So that was the important part. And I was able to just put on the pressure that I needed to. And I was really, especially that game 3, I was very happy with how I played things. Game 2 as well, actually. Game 2 was, like, way better played. But game 3, I was very, very happy. I think I just managed to pick myself up and put myself back in the running. So, I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, so sorry for there's literally no recording for like the live battle, just because like I just didn't have time to set everything up. But I hope you enjoyed this regardless. I'll try and have the live stuff back again for next week. But yeah, we're 2-1, and let's see if we can take this whole thing home again. We've still got 4 weeks left. As we kind of saw last season, a 5-2 is pretty much a guaranteed. So realistically, we need to win 3 more weeks. If we want to play risky, we only need to win 2. But I think that's a little too risky, especially in this league. I think if 3 wins and that's it, we're in. We can be in playoffs as early as week 6. So, but that will do it. I hope that you have all enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. So take it easy, everyone.